Hello and welcome to Learn with Lightning. We are going to do a mini series looking at performance analysis over the next couple of weeks. And I'm really excited to bring this to you and to showcase a little bit of what we do at Lightning, but most importantly, to give you guys the chance to learn performance analysis yourselves and give it a go. My name is Andrew Butterworth. I'll tell you a little bit more about myself in just a moment. But firstly, let's have a quick overview of what we're going to be doing on this series. So the question really that we're posing and we're wanting to help you with is, have you ever wanted to know more about what performance analysis is and actually how to do it for real in practice? So you might be a club coach, a player, a parent who's got some video footage and you're not entirely sure what to do with it or how to analyze it. Well, we're going to help. So we're going to give you an overview of what performance analysis is, some hints and tips on how to do it, and then also showcase what we do here at Lightning with our full processes. So I'll take you through 4 sessions over the next couple of weeks to introduce you to what performance analysis is, what to code, what to select to actually collect, how to do that for real, and I'll showcase some technologies that you can download yourselves to do that with, and then we'll also go through our full Lightning setup as well. We'll look at giving you the skills to do this yourselves at home, which is really important here. And like I said, if you've got footage of your own games or your children's games, then it's a great opportunity for you to do something with them over these next few weeks. Now, at the end of the 4 weeks, once we've taught you through all these different things, what we're going to do is give you a set task. So if you'd like to do this with us, we're going to release to you full match footage of one of our Lightning games and offer you the opportunity to analyze it for us. We'll ask you to produce what we call a post-match report, send that back to us, and then I will judge the best ones along with my team, and then the winners will win some Lightning goodies. So very quickly, without giving you the entire life history, just to tell you a little bit about myself and why I'm leading this series. So like I said, my name's Andrew Butterworth, and I'm the head of performance analysis for Lightning. I'm now into my 5th season with Lightning, having worked with a couple of different coaches in that time, which has been great. And really enjoy being able to work at Loughborough and with the great people around. Now, prior to working for Lightning, I worked with both Mavericks when I was doing my undergrad degree in Hertfordshire, which was a great first experience for me working in performance analysis, opened up a lot of doors for me. And then after that, I went on to be the England netball senior analyst for 4 years, lucky enough to go to the Commonwealth Games in 2014, and then the World Cup in Sydney the following year, 2015. So great experiences there with England and Mavericks. Then came to Lightning, and along with my team, really good team that I've got, we provide PA support throughout the entire Lightning pathway. So that goes right down from under 17s, right the way through to our seniors with our NSL side. So you may have seen me around before at games or on match days and wondered who on earth I was. So you know a little bit briefly now about who I am and what I do. Okay, so week 1 of this mini series, we're going to introduce to you what performance analysis is, what role it plays within the Lightning setup, and also we'll talk a little bit about the process of actually undertaking it, and especially how we do that here. So we'll give you some behind the scenes access to some things that are never usually seen outwardly, to give you guys a bit of an insight into PA. Excuse me. After that, we'll then look at how PA fits in with coaches and what we call the coaching process. We'll talk just for a couple of minutes around how the two can complement each other to hopefully get a better performance at the end of it. Right, so let's think about then what performance analysis is. And we've got a couple of different definitions here. Now, the first one suggests that performance analysis is an objective and permanent record of sporting events. Now, for me, the most important 2 words in this is objective and permanent. Now, objective means it's factual. It means it's something that cannot be argued against because it's there in black and white as a number, or also as a video or a picture. So it means that we know it is an accurate representation of what's happened within a match. So for example, an objective number could be the number of goals that we score within a game, and it could be the number of shots that we miss. And they're both objective pieces of information that can tell us plenty about a shooter's performance. This idea of permanent is also really important because what we will do here at Lightning, as will many, many other performance analysis departments across not only netball but every sport really, will keep a log of this data. And that will allow people to do what we call a longitudinal analysis. We might at the start of year one do a test with our shooters, for example, look at the results of that analysis, and then look at their progress along the way. And we can only do that if we keep this permanent record of the events. So it's really important that we do something called databasing and log all the information we've got to keep it going. Massively important, and we'll touch on this in the second of our mini series, so next time. These events should be quantified and kept in a really consistent and reliable manner. If we do that, and if we do things the same week on week, game on game, then it means we can make some really easy comparisons to different games and assess better how our players are doing. So it's really important that whatever you do as a performance analyst, you do it in a consistent way and you make sure that you're accurate as you're doing it. Once we've collected data, then one of the most important parts is obviously delivering that back. Now, we might have to deliver information back to coaches, to players, sometimes to media, sometimes to people higher up in organizations, such as performance directors. And really for us as as performance analysts, that's absolutely critical because we can collect all the data we want and have the best system. But actually, if we can't deliver that message back, and I always call it land the message with whoever we're trying to get that through to, then it's not actually helped us. So largely what we'll do is collect data and then deliver it back within this coaching process, which I'll talk more about. And it's absolutely critical that we do that in a manner where players, coaches can understand it. So in summary then, what is PA? Well, it's an aid to coaches to make their decisions more factual. We're giving them objective information that they can utilize to make better decisions, to hopefully mean we win more games or we improve our skill set. So why is performance analysis useful? Well, especially at the elite level of sport, people play sport to improve and to compete and to try and get better. So in order to get better, in order to improve, but also to compete at that high level and try and challenge for Super League titles, for MPL titles, then they're going to need some kind of feedback. Now, it's been said that athletes will learn and perfect their skills and their strategies, so tactics, through obtaining some kind of feedback. And performance analysis is just one of those types of feedback. You'll also probably have seen other people in and around the Lightning setup that will be able to provide feedback. An S&C coach, so strength and conditioning, will help with some of the physical side of things. A psychologist will provide feedback using their expertise. A physiologist might do the same, a physiotherapist. So there's lots of different types of feedback available to an athlete. And performance analysis is just one of those that we might be able to help them with. Once the athletes have got this feedback, then it can really help in planning and implementing what we call performance improvements. So e.g., making that athlete better for the next time that we go out and perform. So by using this objective feedback, we've got this permanent record of it, we can then put a plan into place based on that information and what that information tells us about the areas we really need to work on and do some more training on to improve our performance next time. So it's a really useful tool for giving athletes and coaches feedback in an objective manner to hopefully improve the outcome next time. Now, just to go a little bit further on this one, talking about coaches specifically this time, usually it's shown that coaches will only remember around 60% of critical events within a match or training. So there was some research done a few years ago now that looked at this and looked at coaches and how much they could actually remember. So that's quite an alarming number, because it's 40% of the game which a coach has forgotten, and they can't remember those parts of the game due to issues with memory recall and capacity of the brain. That huge problems there potentially, and that they've forgotten 40% of these critical events that we've talked about. So what PA can do is help to fill that gap or fill that void, and provide the objective information and the evidence of not only that 40% they've missed, but also the 60% that they have remembered, and making sure that 100% of the information that they are using is backed up with objective facts and some evidence of that, so the video or the picture that we as analysts can provide. So let's talk now a little bit about how PA can be used. And here I'm going to give you some examples from behind the scenes of exactly how we do this at Lightning. So we work in 3 distinct phases, and the first of those is our pre-match analysis. So prior to any game that we play at Lightning, we will undertake some pre-match analysis that's designed to help our team, Lightning, to improve or win in the next game. So one of the key things we'll do is opposition scouting, and I'll show you an example of that in just a second. But that will include us looking at some prior footage and statistics of the opposition we're about to face, and analysing certain variables that we think are going to be really important for us to be aware about. We'll put that into what we call a pre-match pack, and then we'll deliver that back to both coaches and players, so they've got all the information they could possibly need on the team they're about to play. We also might do some training analysis. So at least once a week with our Super League side, we film and code our training sessions at Netball Centre, and that allows us to make improvements and fine tune our strategies, our techniques during training as it progresses. So we've got a great system where we can do live video feedback, so that in training we can do a couple of sets of a drill, watch it back, talk about it, and then go and do it again to improve it. And then finally, we might do something called motivational analysis, which is where we'll put a montage together of all the best bits of maybe the last time we played this team, or some really good bits from training, some bloopers, some outtakes, some funny bits, put that to some current and relevant music in order to hopefully motivate the team a bit further. In match, I'll talk about this in more detail in a second, but we'll film and code the game live with those key statistics that we're looking for. We'll feed that back live to the coaches, and in some matches, in some occasions, we have halftime input as well, where we can go and show clips, so video clips, that is, statistics to the players at halftime to hopefully make an impact in the second half. Once the match is done, we'll then do our post-match analysis. So we'll go into a lot more detail at this stage. Literally goes down to every single touch of the ball by every single player. We log every single one of those, looking at who it was, where it was, and the outcome of that. So pre-match I've talked about in a bit of detail already, but we produce this idea of a pre-match pack, which has got loads of information that our players need to know. Now, in next week's version of this little series, I'll actually talk you through what is contained within that pack. So I'll open that up to you and show you exactly what is within it. Something that's not usually done. So a great opportunity for you guys to see what is done behind the scenes and what we look at. Just to give you a bit of a taster though, we'll cover some things such as the expected lineup. So we will look at the squad of the team that we're going to be coming up against and assess who we think is actually going to be in that starting 7 against us, and some of the reasons why that might be. And we'll then look at their key strengths, where they are really good and where we might need to try and stop them, but also where they're really weak and their key weaknesses, which we can hopefully then exploit. Here's just an example of a pre-match pack. So this is for a Bath game. And you can see straight away some of the things that we look at, some of these variables we look at, and the presentation method we do for that as well. So bit of a teaser for you for now. We will go into a lot more detail on this next week when we look at what we code and why we code it. In terms of the in-match stuff then, so we will film and code every match live. Now that means that we cover every touch by every player as it happens during the game. So whereas you guys might be sat there enjoying the game, watching it, talking to your friends and family, we're working very hard behind the scenes, usually up on the balcony behind you in David Wallace, and we'll be covering every single touch. There's usually 3 of us there, 3 analysts there on a match day to do this. Now, some of this information is fed back to the coaches on the bench live as the game progresses. And the way we'll be able to do that is using iPads and radios. So again, you may have seen me or one of my team running around frantically either before the game or at half time with a couple of iPads or a radio in our ears. And that's our direct link throughout the entire game to the coaches on the bench. So one of us will have the radio in and we'll usually talk to the assistant coach rather than the head coach. But also on the bench, there'll be 2 iPads which showcase information. Now, the idea behind this is to make the coach's decision making during the game a little bit more objective. So remembering that definition we looked at first up. But actually, we have to be really careful in how much information we do feed down, because we could very easily overwhelm the coaches and the players by giving them too much information. So we only drip feed a little bit of what we actually code live. Here's an example of what it looks like from the other side of the bench. So there you guys are watching the game. This was our pre-season game against Wasps this year. And you can see 2 iPads on the bench. One of them has live video, so the coaches can watch back any element of the game that we have coded on around about a 10 to 15 second delay, so pretty instantaneously. And then the other iPad contains the key statistics. And they're blanked out right now, but I will share some of those with you next week as we go through this second session. Finally, then post-match analysis. So the match is done. We have collected all the information we need, and now we actually need to analyze this for real. So what we will do is we will sit down immediately after the game. So we'll go and grab some food with the players and coaches afterwards. But even at that time, we're working straight away to analyze in detail every single aspect of the game. We're going to assess the game on both an individual player level, a unit level, so attack or defense, and also a team level as well. And we've got a system that I've developed here at Lightning called performance profiling, which allows us to assess in what we call relative terms how good that performance actually was. So we might have won the game by 10 goals or 1 goal, but actually, according to the statistics, how strong a performance was that? So using about 5 years worth of data, we can very accurately interpret and assess how good that game actually was, regardless of the score. So we go and look at the statistics and we can very easily say how good that game was. Again, I'll share more of that system with you in weeks to come. Once we've done that and we've gone through and found where we were strong, where we weren't so strong, we'll very, very carefully select some data and video to illustrate this to the players. So I will sit down with Sarah, with Liv and Vic, our assistant coaches, and actually decide which data do we need to show to the players, what video do we need to show to the players, and how are we going to frame that? So what message are we delivering as we do that? So we'll do that. It will either be myself or the coaches will deliver that information back to the players in our debrief, which is usually on a Monday, for Super League that is. But we also like our players to be involved. So we will set them their own tasks. So here's an example again from earlier this season, where we get the players to sit down in their units. We will give them the video and ask them to do some analysis as well. And we find that really helps with the athletes' understanding and buy-in to the performance analysis process. So up until now, I've talked a lot about me, my team, and how we analyze things, but not a lot about the coaches and where they get involved with this. And a common misconception can be that performance analysis and all this data can make the coach's role redundant or less worthwhile. But that's absolutely not the case. Performance analysis is very much designed to complement the coach's existing knowledge. So rather than challenge it or try and change their ways of thinking or what they think about a game, we try and complement it. Coaches are very experienced. They've got a lot of netball knowledge, a lot of tactical knowledge, and data can't always capture that information accurately. So the idea behind performance analysis is that it sits alongside the coaches, and when we put the two of them together, we hopefully get a better outcome using both sets of data. Because performance analysis is objective, as we said right at the start today, it should help coaches to make better decisions and to focus their attention on areas of concern. So if our centre pass defence, for example, is a bit concerning, if the data tells us that it's not been great in the past few weeks, the coach can then direct their attention in training, in debriefs, to that particular area. So because we've got the data, the numbers to back it up, it really gives us the opportunity to do that and to make sure that we're making decisions based on data and not just gut feeling or bias. I talked about this idea of the coaching process very, very briefly earlier on. And really what that is those three stages that I just talked to you about. So in its most simplest format, the coaching process is your so your planning stage, your doing stage, so the live, and then your post-match review stage. So three stages that we talked about a little bit earlier on. And you can see, hopefully, or you're able to make some distinctions of where performance analysis fits with each of those three stages. So when a coach is planning a session out in this pre-phase, or we're training, then they can use data to direct what we need to work on in training based on the objective information. Live during training or during a match, we can provide that objective information where the guys down on the bench can make a decision based on that, and they're more objective then. There's no bias coming into it. So that's the live part of the coaching process. And then post-match is this detailed review. So again, using all the data, all the video we've got available to us to actually analyze, okay, how good was that game, or how good was that training session, and where do we need to put our focus next time? Once we've done that, the cycle starts again. So we loop it back round to the pre-phase and we go again, and the cycle continues on from there. Okay, so in summary of today's quick first session then. So performance analysis is an objective tool used to make better decisions. It's data that we will collect live in the majority of cases. It's not biased, it's reliable, there's no opinions that come into it, so it means it can really be relied upon as an accurate source of information to make us a better team. It helps plug this information deficit, so you'll remember that coaches will, on average, remember around 60% of critical events from a game. Well, PA helps plug that 40% that's missing, but also helps back up and rationalize the 60% that they did remember. Just make sure again that it's accurate of what they did think they saw. We'll do detailed analysis at those three stages of the coaching process, so pre, during, and post, and we went through in some detail about what happens at each of those stages. Now, feedback, how we deliver it back, and engagement with players is absolutely key. We could have the best system in the world, the best data, but if we can't get the messages of that data through to the players, then it's unlikely, that they will actually be able to, on court, make any changes. So it's really key as a performance analyst that you learn how to engage with players, how to interact with them to deliver this data back in the best way possible. So next week then, we'll go into even more detail and a bit more behind the scenes of exactly what we do here at Lightning, stuff that's usually never seen or never shared at all. So a great opportunity for you guys to listen into what we do. So we will look at what these critical events are. I've talked about critical events a few times today, so we'll go through that in a lot of detail next time. We'll talk about how to select them. So how we decide what to look at, how we decide what information to give to the bench live during a game, and we'll also start to consider how to monitor these different events as well. Like I said, I'll happily share some examples with you of what we code here at Lightning. So I'll show you some of our processes of selecting indicators, of how we then actually code them during a game or training session, and I'll also share some data with you too. That data will be anonymized, so you won't know which team it is or which player it is, but it will give you a bit of an idea of the numbers involved behind netball analysis. Finally, we'll also look at how to ensure everything you do as a performance analyst is accurate. So it's really important that because coaches are making decisions on the data you provide to them, that it is accurate and reliable. So I'll give you some hints and tips on how to make sure what you do is actually reliable. So thank you very much for listening to our first session this week. Like I said, we've got 3 more sessions to come where I'm going to start to give you some practical hints and tips on how you can do this on your own, footage that you might already have. And at the end of that 4th week, we'll give you a full Lightning game where you can put your skills to the test and produce us a post-match report. We'll judge them. If you give us some really, really good outputs, then there'll be some Lightning goodies in it for you as a thank you for helping us along our way to becoming a better team. Thanks for listening in. Hope you found it useful, and we'll see you again very soon. Bye-bye.